Bob Brown.
Come on, you mother fluffer, go live. I think we're on. I think we're on. Let's just see if that comes up. I think we might be on. I think it might be resolved by the wonders of modern technology. Can anybody see us in the live? It's been going titty south. I blame Cobra. No apparent reason. But Cobra's got me into trouble before. So probably him.
I don't have a YouTube feed going right now. I can run and get my tablet though if you want some help.
I think we're on, mate. I think we're on. I think we've just gone on. Yeah, Peter, he's put you good, Neil. Okay, it's on. Thank Fluff. What the frig was going on there? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the old school where we are very professional. That's what you get when you literally finish the bell for school, jump straight online. Did it go smoothly? Absolutely not. Level of professionalism you've come to know and love on here. Also, I don't know what the weather's like in your part of the world, ladies and gentlemen, but right here in UK, it is extremely hot. And as I'm part man, part chip, I am seriously sweating bobbers. If you look at the bottom corner of the screen, my lean, muscular friend, Andrew Cobra Rhodes, is wearing a bobble cap. You want to walk me through that? How warm is it there, son? What's going on?
I'm in Miami right now, Neil.
Dear me.
It is super warm out, but I just completed a workout, and I'm trying to keep the heat in me for a little bit.
Mate, I've got too much heat in me. I've got my glass of water over here. But anyway, enough of the heat talk. Enough of the heat talk. We're going to get straight into the show. And already, the very faithful Matt Tickle My Limits Larratt's come flying in. What's up, Neil? King Cobra, fellas. Thanks for bringing us the buzz. Apologies for bringing in the buzz a bit late. And Eric, what are we looking at this week, mate? Are we're walking chronologically through it? What about mid 2000s?
Yeah, I think we sort of ended on Zoloev 2004 last time. So I was thinking of going into the mid 2000s, and there was a lot going on in the middle of the decade. A lot of different things. One of the things that I think was a new beginning, or it was really the popularity of the one-on-one super matches starting in around 2004 towards the end of the decade. That became a huge thing. Either events that just featured those super matches, or they were like, the highlights of regular double elimination tournaments. The Pal Vendettas and Arm Fights started in 2004, at least officially under those names. And, over the course of the remaining decade, they probably held 30 or 40 of them. Mm-hmm. And I know that's very much in line with what had always been your dream for Arm Wars. And I know maybe we'll get to that a little later, because that's really towards the end of the decade that we really started to get going with.
So, Eric, I know who I give credit to the challenge super matches.
Everybody on the call.
Who do you give credit to this beginning of them?
So Travis, Travis with his sort of like super match invitational round robins, the term super match, I think really made that word popular.
Right, but the whole start of the one-on-one.
Right, the Northeastern Arm Wrestling Challenge, I don't think they were first, but they sort of made, big super matches. That's the highlight of their double elimination tournament. And they had some really big matches in those years. So
right. So, and Pete Milano, correct me if I'm wrong, but Pete Milano is really the one who started this whole thing with the challenge matches and having a card dedicated to challenge matches. It was Pete Milano who really started it.
Pete Milano, James Rodriguez, they made, and what surprised me is that the success they had in these years. You hear about super matches or one-on-ones, both competitors are getting paid, or it's not them betting their own money. But back then, people were happy to put up $1,000 on themselves against another guy, which is great. I mean, for the tournament, that's perfect for the promoter because there's no actual cash outlay for prize money. But they had some really a lot of success during that second half of the decade. Neil, are you hearing any of this, or? I
have literally just got you back, mate. I just got you back. I I missed all of that before it.
we were just
no idea.
We were just talking about how the super matches that Pete Milano and James Rodriguez with their Northeastern Arm Wrestling Challenge series of events starting in 2005, they really found a good formula where you have a good double elimination tournament, but also, you know, the main events are a few high-level super matches.
Well, I'm gonna discredit that
I
guy.
haven't heard.
We were way before that. This side of the
Right, I wasn't
way-
saying necessarily they were first, but they had it in the US. They had a good thing going.
Yeah, I think in the US it was quite a way behind. I think you
Yeah.
guys got into it about 6 years back. We were around 1995, 96, and then it came on stream big time from about 1998.
Okay.
So around 1998, we were solidly into the sort of super match format at regular events over here, with featuring a lot of the European lads. I
In
think there's still a
England?
bit of a reluctance, really, in the US. Have I lost you all again, guys?
We hear you.
Thank God for that, because it's
We
No.
hear you.
not looking amazing for me. If that's the case, I feel like I've been kicked in the penis with an iron boot.
Pete Milano's a name I haven't heard in a while. What is
Yeah.
he up to? He's the guy that he sounded like Mike Tyson, right? When he talked, kind of.
I think he
Real
still follows. I think he still follows the sport. I don't know online, but I haven't heard of him competing in a long time or promoting. But interesting year, 2005. 2005 was interesting because right after Vovoda wins Zloty, he promptly retires and focuses on bobsled, leaving a gap in sort of the world's best active heavyweight. And if you remember, John Brzenk went down in weight in 2005. And, you know, he was pulling at 198 for the Ultimate Arm Wrestling in Las Vegas tournament, the pull at the Plaza. And that event there, which was the biggest North American double elimination tournament of that decade. And it, you know, there was a lot of people at that event. John tried to pull the 198s and the supers, and he realized before long that he had bitten off more than he can chew. And well, we talked a bit about the final with Todd Hutchings last time in the 198s, the incredible matches, and he didn't figure too well in the super heavyweights. But who had a great year in 2005 in the super heavyweights? I think Travis Bajan. Among all the active super heavyweights, he probably had the single best year right-handed in 2005. He had a super match win at the Michael Classic over Devin Larratt, beating him 3-1 right hand. He won what did he win? He won the overall at Zloty that year, right hand. He won the Pac Worlds in Mohegan Sun. He won the Arnold's. Perfect year for Travis. What happens at a Pete Milano, James Rodriguez event right at the end of the year? He has a super match with Jerry Cadaret. And Jerry Cadaret, if you recall, he had been basically out of the scene for 5, 6, 7 years at that point. And he didn't like Travis, or he didn't like the image of Travis. And his whole thing is he wanted to try to shut him up on the big stage. And for those who don't know the details of this match, this was a match where Travis's side was putting up $10,000. Jerry was putting up $5,000. They gave him odds. And lo and behold, Jerry, they proceeded to have an incredible match, and Jerry won 3-1. So that put a damper on Travis's parade for that year. But, you know, all things considered, I think Travis had the single best right-hand year among all the pullers on the planet that year. But interesting enough, right after that, John decided to get strong. He disappeared for a few months. And when he came back in 2006, probably the strongest version of John ever, winning the Arnold's, the Michael Classic, winning basically everything and beating everyone.
Right. Because John, you know, I moved to Utah at the very end of '93, coming from the East Coast, AAA arm wrestling. There really wasn't a whole lot of money events. And all of a sudden I move out here, and Leonard Denise, they're putting on money events every couple of weeks. And, you know, to win $300 isn't that big of a deal. But when you can pull the 98s, the 242s, the supers left and right-handed and win all 6 classes, all of a sudden $1,800 that's a lot of money And so me and John were flying to events or going to events every couple of weeks. And so he always kept his weight light. Plus, the reality is for most of John's life, he walked around every day of his life at, 205 in the early 90s. And then by the mid to late 90s, it was like 210. And then, early 2000s, it was 215. As he was getting older, he would walk around every day of his life about 5 pounds heavy. And so when that event happened for the first time, not the first time, but he legitimately had to diet to make the 198s when he had the match with Todd Hutchings. I mean, he had to lose 10 plus pounds, which for a lot of people is no big deal. But when you've never done it, John's never really had to lose weight. He could skip a meal and make the 198. So, it's just, and then he, like you said, in 2006, he finally said, screw dieting, let's get big, and, because he wanted to stay light to then beat everybody to make, a couple extra wins.
Right.
And then he finally said, screw it, because dieting sucks. Let's all face it. We all hate dieting, which is why we all hate Cobra, because he doesn't have to diet to maintain that slenderness. But yeah, so finally John says, screw it, let's get big. And 206 emerges.
Yeah.
It was bad man. John Brzenk's a bad man.
It was quite a year for him. Though there was a few, unfortunately, there was no, so I think in Europe, it was clear by that point that the most prestigious professional tournament was the Zloty/Nemiroff Cup in those years. In North America, there were a few different ones. We had that Ultimate Arm Wrestling Las Vegas for 2 or 3 years there in the middle of part of the decade. And those were good events on ESPN. Or some of them were on ESPN. And then the other events, you had the Ruler of the Nation, 2007, 8, 9. That was Gary Roberts' idea. He had Don Fritchie's backing to put on to fund these tournaments. But in those years, that was the biggest cash event, 2007, 8, 9. $20,000 was all it took to have the biggest prize money tournament. Only 3 or 4 weight classes, but I tell you, a lot of the top Americans showed up.
What was the year of, was that in the period of the Triple Crown also, that first Triple Crown? Bob, you gave me that award.
Yeah. Do you even know when I did that? Because I'm the one who did that, and I don't even remember the years.
It's around that time.
No, I remember I was the sole.
Yeah. I've always been a fan.
Guys.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the Triple Crown horse racing. I'm in the horses, I'm in the horse racing. And back then there was 3 distinct national championships, the AAA, the USAA, and the USAF.
Yep.
And I thought, how cool would it be to have an award for someone to win all of them, and you did it, Cobra, and some other people did it. And, the biggest challenge of winning all 3 of those events was just getting to all 3 events. It costs a lot of money to go to those events.
Yeah. So what was it? You had to win the same, same class with the same arm, or did it have to be the same weight?
Yeah,
or?
I think it had to be the same arm. And if because I did it in all opens.
Okay.
But you could have done it.
It had to be an all open. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because at the finals, when we went to Denver, I think it was Denver, Colorado, the Leonard and Denise's nationals, and there were 6 of us that were still in it that trip. Ron Klemba, a couple other guys. I beat Chandler 165 at that show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Chris Chandler took a 2nd place, and after that match, he gained weight.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Brent Rockers did it once or twice.
I think Brent was the first one to do it.
Okay.
No, I was, Bob. That was the first one.
Okay.
You were the first one?
Yeah, Denver, because you gave me that crystal with $5,100 bills in it, remember?
Well, I do remember that, but okay. I had forgotten who's the first one. My memory.
Yeah, that was the very first one, because I was the only one that got through it. Ron Klemba was the closest. I think he took a 2nd in Masters.
Oh.
I was sitting in the crowd wishing him ill will.
I'm guessing the money would have had to be split. Had there been
Yeah,
multiple
it would have.
winners?
It
Okay.
would have.
Yeah.
Christian Benny. I think Christian Benny was still alive.
Because
he got
I remember. Yeah, I remember one of the years, because it only lasted a few years.
Mm.
One of the years, like 5 people did it.
Oh wow.
You know,
Kansas City.
Yeah, and the real problem was, like I said, you know, if you win the first one and lose the second one, you're not going to the third one. You know, a lot of people, it just became an expense. And then when all these people did it, you know, if you split the money 5 ways, all of a sudden it's like $700-800 or something, which didn't cover the cost of going to the 3 events in the first place. And so it kind of fizzled out.
Right.
You know, so
still, I thought it was a very interesting experiment. It was fun for the fans to see who would make it
Yeah.
to the end. I thought that was
Right.
really cool.
Neil, are you in there?
no, I think we've lost Neil. He's
Okay.
kind of frozen.
He's got technical difficulties. Does anyone have
Yeah.
the chat going?
I don't.
All right, I'm gonna go grab a tablet and so we can address you guys in the chat. Give me a second.
Okay. So yeah, I don't even know how to do the chat thing. I just talk, you know, I don't know, but yeah, I would love to see Cobra come back to the sport for one and only one reason is I want to have a super match with him.
Can you guys hear me again?
Yes,
Yeah, we got you.
Thank frig, because for like the last 15 minutes, I have no idea what's been going on. Couldn't see or hear shit.
We have been talking about in the early 2000s how horrible of an arm wrestler Neil Pickup was.
And that's a bad thing, Bob Brown. That's a bad thing that you scorn my reputation. Well,
Oh, Neil's back. Hey, Neil.
All right, mate. How's it going? I'll tell you what happened there? Never had that before. So many technical issues were presenting themselves as I sat here bored shitless. Things like, when shall I end this stream? Bearing in mind, I have no idea what's going on. I was going in the chat and just trying to find people saying, oh, yeah, we can see it completely. So, yeah, I don't know whether they could see me, couldn't see me. I couldn't see a goddamn thing. So, yeah, amazing. I'm sure you've been doing a wonderful job, lads. Got every trust in.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the Triple Crown and things like that. It was good.
Lovely dart. So where are we up to, Eric? What have we got through and past?
We're darting around a bit, but
that's how long ago I left you.
We've been darting around a bit, but if we talk about the 2006, it's an interesting year because 2006 was the first year that there was only back to having one world championship. 2005, there was still the World Arm Sport Worlds, and there was the World Arm Wrestling Federation Worlds. And you got the benefit of being the host of the 2006 Worlds in Manchester. And I believe it set the attendance record, I'm pretty sure, for a world championship.
Yes.
And that special PAL Super Match Vendetta arm fight series at the tail end of the event, that was something special. So maybe I'll let you do the talk about what that was, because that was something.
Yeah, we wanted to put together sort of a bit of a showpiece at the end for people that had never seen one of the PAL matches before. So we invited the top guys in the world over, the guys who were the superstars at that time. We built them up with an initial match. We had Paul Maiden and Arthur Glebinski on first. I remember Paul Maiden's arm. But we had all the big names there. We had Travis Page and Semerenko. We had John there. We obviously had Michael Todd there. Yeah, it was an absolutely stacked lineup, and nice to just chill out after the World Championships, you know, because it's such an intense week.
Right.
And to have, I mean, we had really big name arm wrestlers there. Vovoda was there at the event. It was quite a unique atmosphere. Really good stuff. The only guy that was missing was Rhodes.
Yeah.
So some of the complicating factors is that some of the super match participants also competed in the Worlds, whereas some did not. So it made for you had to take the result with that in mind, you know. But it was a spectacle to see John pull Andre 6 rounds in a row like that. And that was powerful John era. So it was very interesting to see.
Right.
And then of course the big classic probably the most notorious PAL match ever, is the Semerenko Travis Bagent match. For those who have seen that, that's some crazy stuff. Like, if he could just settle down, Travis seemed to be so far ahead. If he could just settle down, he could have won that 6-0. But he scraped by with, I think it was a 3-3 tie in the end with hardly any pulling.
Right. Yeah. I'm certain that Neil, I was there for that. I have some good stories about the Worlds and the after pull. And I'm sure Neil is much more privy to behind the scenes. But my understanding is the reason Travis lost his mind is because prior to all that, they had a renegotiation of his contract, and it didn't quite go the way he wanted it to go. Mm-hmm. And so he proceeded to lose his mind on stage.
Yeah. He Samsoned it and pulled the temple on the whole show.
Yeah.
But yeah, quite an interesting set of criteria between the guys from PAL, and I actually had Travis on one of the Deep Inside shows. So if anybody's interested in Travis's sort of take on that, if you go back and look at the Deep Inside series in the playlist with Travis Bagent, he will give you deep and meaningful insight on exactly what went down and why that went down. Yeah, one of the infamous stories that Travis is so often attached to. It's a real character in the sport, doesn't it? Without a doubt. We missed a super chat earlier, guys. DCS Beamer came in. Thanks, mate, for the super chat there. He's just put, hey, guys, hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Sorry I was absent for a little bit of that time. But, yeah, getting back on track. The World Championships that year, very, very interesting because it was held at the Trafford Centre in Manchester. And the Trafford Centre was also the venue for a lot of the Arm Wars Super Series events, most notably the Arm Wars Acid Rain event comes later. But we'd been holding Arm Wars events there since the back end of the 90s. So we had a lot of experience in that venue. We used to hold the Arm Wars knockout tournaments there, again, where from the late 90s, we would have super match tournaments followed by, so when I say super match tournaments, are you guys familiar with the battlegrounds? So yes. It's like the old 8-man Pride Fighting Championships or UFC cards, very, very similar. So we'd have that kind of tournament there, supported by a main draw event underneath that. Limited weight classes. We didn't do the full stack of weight classes. And then we went on to some elite super match stuff. And we'd held them at the Trafford Centre for a lot of years, built up a really big following. And that was the sort of basis for the World Championships coming there. So pretty unique event and something I'll certainly never forget. I know I had a lot of effort went into that. My God, I remember the morning that I was pulling the right arm, and I'd been up till 25 to 5 a.m. the night before working. Also dieted, lost a little bit of weight for the show, and I had aspirations of doing well in the tournament. Wanted to win it in Manchester if I could. And I'd come back from my joint rebuild and I'd been training my balls off for like a year and a half. Woke up after like 3 hours sleep and went to try and grab some breakfast. And I was so knackered when I sat there eating my breakfast, my hands were shaking. I'll never forget that. I thought, I couldn't stop my hands from shaking. I was knackered. I don't know why, just completely blown to bits, completely overcooked it. So yeah, I'll never forget that event for a lot of.
Uh-oh, did we lose Neil? Well, I will tell you folks, he was absolutely knackered. And where is the wizard? We need the
did
wizard.
I lose you again, guys?
There he is. We got you. Yeah, you were knackered.
Where did I drop out there? Where did I lose?
You were knackered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was knackered like my Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Oh boy, exactly.
Exactly. She's right behind you, Neil. She's right behind you. Be careful.
Go for it, Eric. You lead it, mate. You're doing the job anyway, dude. Go for it.
There was some really, we got some interesting stuff with some of the super matches from that time period. In early 2006, Michael Todd pulled Marcio Barbosa at one of these Northeastern Arm Wrestling Challenge tournaments. And at that time, Michael was not the Michael we know now. He was seen as the big underdog against Marcio. And in my opinion, that was basically his coming out party. He defeated Marcio 3-1 right-handed in early 2006. And that was sort of the beginning of him being associated with the King's move, or that type of style of pulling. Because before that, if you look at him just a few years before that, he's always been a great puller, but he reached a different level, started reaching a different level at around that time. And it just kept, accelerating over the next 15 years. But so that was a big one. Other super matches that we got to see at those events, jumping forward a few years, John Brzenk pulled Tim Bresnan 1-3-0 pretty dominantly. Sylvain Perron and Rob Vigent got a chance to pull at those events. Sylvain won 3-1, but Rob impressed a lot because Rob was still relatively fresh in the sport, and Sylvain was an established name and was a bigger guy. So Rob's stock really climbed up a few notches, I think, based on that performance. And of course, well, I'm jumping ahead. Maybe we should get the early part of the Super Series. I don't know if there's any matches you want to talk about. Obviously, one of the big ones is the John Brzenk Devin Larratt super match from 2008. But before that, Devin had been climbing from 2006, 7, 8. He beats Ron Bath. That was a big win for him. Michael Classic, he wins 3-1, but they're a fabulous super match, like back and forth. He pulls Ron again a year later in Arm Wars, which we still haven't got a chance to see. But his stock was climbing. So yeah, I'll wait for Neil to get back on to maybe talk a bit more about these Arm Wars ones.
Right. Well, I'll give you maybe I just like to talk about myself, but it's a funny story. At the Manchester Worlds, I was pulling left-handed as well as right-handed in the Masters division, and I had gotten second in the Nationals that year to a guy, Dave Mount from New Jersey, who beat me pretty handily. And so we're at the Worlds, and I've got no aspirations of doing anything left-handed because I know Dave's going to kill me. Well, I won my first match, and then Dave ends up having some war with some guy. And then I have my second match, and my shoulder's bugging me, but I'm able to just back pressure and lift the elbow off the other guy's pad because I couldn't really go sideways. It was really painful. So I'm like, oh, well, I can do that again. And I did it again. I just back pressured. The guy's elbow came up, got a second foul, and I win. Wow, okay, great. Meanwhile, both Dave Mount and the other guy who just had that war, I forget, I think Dave lost. He lost his next match. The guy he had the war with ended up losing his next two matches. And I'm like, okay, this is working out pretty good for me. And I find myself on the A side in the finals, and I'm getting this guy's hand, but he's pressing me down. We're in the straps, and we're fighting hard, and all of a sudden it hits me. Bob, he just let go of his thumb, and so I released on his thumb. I slid up his hand in the straps, and he already had a foul on him for some other reason. The second my hand slid up his thumb,
the match was over.
Thinking, oh shit, this crowd is about to go crazy because he's coming back.
No posing, Bob. No posing.
Well, what's crazy is the second I start to bring him back, he fouled again, and they stopped the match. And I still won the match, but I was like, "Oh, bummer! They ruined the moment."
Shot. Right.
But
you can't close in those moments. You got to get rid of them.
I know that was just a little side story, But that event was amazing. Neil did a phenomenal job putting it all on. It was a really cool venue.
We're talking about, Neil, your Worlds in Manchester.
Yeah, I think he's still frozen.
All right. Great job, Neil. You can't hear me. I don't know sign. So
Right.
good job,
Yeah,
Neil.
he did a great job. And that after thing with Travis and Samarenko, it was.
Oh, that was the tournament when Travis was the angry schoolgirl.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it was
Samarenko.
bad.
He's like Bolo and Enter the Dragon.
Yes. But
Good stuff.
because in the beginning of it, Travis walked on stage, kind of gave a chest bump to Samarenko,
Yeah.
stared
I
at him,
remember.
walked away, and I'm thinking, all right, this is, it's entertaining, it's cool.
Yeah,
And-
man.
and
That
then
dude would have
and then
chewed
the rails
Travis
came
up and
off.
spit him out, man.
Yeah, the rails just
Oh, man. We would have had to pour out a little liquor for Travis, man. If that man had cut loose on him.
Right. So, but there was wasn't there a Canadian? Oh, you're going to know it. He was in the finals.
I know where you're going. Luke Reimer.
Canada.
Luke Reimer.
And he had some issues and didn't want to compete in the finals. Yeah. It's
So
something about his religion. And I remember at the end of it just thinking, hey, that guy stood up to his principles. So good, good job.
He made it to the finals of the left hand, I think 90 kg. And for the finals, the competitors I believe were escorted to the table by women wearing bikinis or not wearing very much.
Right.
And that was completely unacceptable to him. And he basically said, I'm not going if this is how it has to be done. And that's what everyone was doing. So he just walked out. So he stuck to his principles, but wow.
He stuck to his principles.
Yeah.
I totally thought that was good.
Yeah.
Why didn't he go to the promoters and say, I'm walking out solo?
Well, if Neil gets back on, Neil will be able to explain all of this. So I don't know the exact. I'm pretty sure he voiced his opinion to someone, but I don't know, what the result was.
How high up the food chain it went. Neil, are you with us?
Whoa, I'm back.
All right,
Please.
Neil, we're on the story. The gentleman, because of his religious beliefs, walked out of the gold medal round.
Luke
at the
Reimer.
World Championship.
He wasn't actually in the gold. He was in the playoff for third place. He was in the third place playoff, and I actually should have been his opponent.
Winner gets bronze. Winner gets bronze.
The winner progresses. So loser takes bronze, winner progresses.
Okay, semifinal.
Yeah, and he was supposed to pull me, and it didn't come out. So
how much did you pay him, Neil?
I didn't have to, mate. I wanted the match badly, actually. I had some high aspirations myself that day. Even got a win on the great Sharon Remez that day, so I was feeling all right.
Whoa.
The kid that won, the Uzbek that won, later went on to be banned for steroids. Never competed again.
From Uzbekistan.
That was interesting. That was my first loss. But weird set of criteria, because he objected to the girls that were in the show, and the girls weren't scantily clad. There was nothing really to object to. They were professional dancers, and they were just dancing at the show. But as a result of that, he felt that it wasn't appropriate. And he said he wouldn't come out for the finals. So,
right.
Great shame, because mega puller, really, really good arm wrestler. Where the hell is he in Reimer anyway?
He hasn't been active in the sport for at least 10 years. But I remember even what he came out to a couple of my tournaments around those years, and he would never compete if it was in a bar. He would never compete if it was in a casino. So it had to be like in a hotel or an outdoor venue. So he was very limited as to where he could actually compete based on his beliefs. So.
Which was a great shame, because the man was excellent.
Oh yeah.
Very,
He was,
I don't personally think there was a cat in hell's chance of him winning the gold. That was just my honest opinion, because he was very, very powerful, but not a fast starter.
Right.
And I don't think that the Uzbek that day anybody was going through. I mean, he went
He wasn't
through
waiting for
myself
nobody, was he?
and Remez like a hot knife through butter.
Who do you remember who put him in the
biggest
losers
reasons.
bracket?
Sorry, mate, I
Neil?
lost you, Bob. Say again, brother.
Do you remember who put him in the losers bracket?
Yeah, the Uzbek,
Okay.
I believe. I think it was the Uzbek.
Gotcha.
A funny story about Luke. He was at the very first Superstar Showdown in Chehalis, Washington in 2004, the one where Devin pulled John for the first time.
Yeah.
It was 198 pounds, I think, the class. Or no, I think I'm thinking of the next year. Sorry, 2005, the 198 Invitational, where they invited 12 of the best North American. And Luke was there, but he I think he was like 2 or 3 pounds over. So he had to go running. Well, he put a big jogging pants and he went running, but way longer than he needed to, because when he weighed in, he was like 10 pounds under. He still did okay though. I think he still finished 5th or 6th among the group of 12. So yeah.
Yes, I remember that tournament. I think that's the one where Todd Hutchings beat Bill Brzenk.
Yes.
And no excuses, because I still think the outcome would have been the same. But Bill had fallen from a truck and his whole leg, like I forget which leg, but one of his legs was black and blue, the whole thing. And he wasn't 100% from his leg standpoint. I still think the match would have went the way it went with Todd winning, but just he was and I ended up pulling Denny Dubreuil at that tournament.
Okay.
Classes were insanity. Yes.
Yeah, the only reason Denny was there is, I don't know if you remember, but there was supposed to be a 165-pound invitational as well that fell through sort of in the last few weeks. So his flight was already booked. That's the only reason he was there, because he already had bought the flight for that special event. So he ended up just pulling the regular tournament there.
Yeah, and he ended up getting into a war with, I believe, like Kenny Hughes or somebody.
It was Brandon Dye, young Brandon Dye.
Brandon Dye, and then so I need to mail a present to Brandon Dye, because I'm sure it was because of that war. Then I beat Denny Dubreuil after that match, and it was like, well, yeah, you're tired. He was tired.
I'm back. I was back.
Hey, he's back again.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Neil.
He comes back and he can't hear, and he's free. So that's okay. Hey, what happened? See, this is the old school show, and he needs someone really, really young.
Tell the folks in YouTube land, we're doing this on dial-up because it's old.
Yeah, he needs a 12-year-old to figure out all this technical stuff.
Right.
But the second half of the 2000s, there was a lot of guys who were very dominant within their class. And I'll give examples of Rustam Babayev. He pulled 80 kg class every year at Worlds and won both arms every single year he went.
Every year.
2002 all the way to the end of the decade. There's only 1 year he didn't go, but every time he went, he won gold medal both arms, and that's dominant. In the second half of the 2000s, Roman Sindiliani, or now known as Jumbo Bibliani, at 143, he was winning everything, and he was coming to the States for a lot of the tournaments, so we saw him a lot, and we didn't see him lose very much.
He was. Yeah, he had his way for about 5 years, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was bumming out super heavyweights. Guys hated to see him show up.
Yeah.
When he came to the States, I think, honestly, I think when Roman Sindiliani came to the States, it was the true awakening to the fact that European arm wrestlers are just stronger than American arm wrestlers.
Yeah. Another league.
I mean, we are technically better. I still think we're technically better, but the strength level, he was the showing.
Getting to their spot at the strength
Yes.
level.
Right.
And
Yes.
getting to, not fighting through a match, getting to the spot on go. This is
Yes.
well, Bob, you and I both know. You and I have been to Europe together. And that's what these guys, especially like Kazakhstan, Vladivostok, Russia, these places like this, these guys get to their comfort zone in less than half a second.
Oh,
and their
just
comfort
go
zone,
straight. Yes.
yeah, their comfort zone is on your pin pad.
Oh,
So
Yes.
you have to be an exceptional arm wrestler to be a top European kid. And
Yeah.
Bob, you've known that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Neil, Eric, surely, but you guys out on YouTube, you just, you hear these names flashed around about us guys here in North America, but you must know something.
Right.
The guy that finishes 9th place at the Russian Nationals, there's a good chance he's going to be in the finals in a North American national event. It's
Absolutely.
just, I'm not hating, it's just truth.
It's just true. And
Yeah.
and it's not because they're technically better arm wrestlers. They're just stronger.
Right.
Yeah,
Another
they're
example-
just stronger.
Another
They went
example,
quickly.
Haji Murat Zoloev, in those years, he kept on climbing, but he would right hand. That kid wouldn't lose in those years.
It's
Unbelievable.
unbelievable. It's
Sure.
unbelievable.
But Ed, that's funny you brought up my little brother's name, because his dad, Mavek,
Right.
and his uncle, I just mentioned yesterday on Uncle John's show. Well, it was on Gary's channel, but it was Uncle John's show.
Yeah.
Well, wherever Uncle John throws his hat, that's his crib. Papa was a Rolling Stone. But the Crushing Russian, Kazbek Zoloev, is his uncle.
Yeah.
And Mavek is his father. This kid's arm wrestling DNA is off the charts. And I know this is new school because it hasn't even happened yet, but I cannot wait to see this match between him and Todd Hutchings.
Right. Yeah.
Because this is side pressure. Both of them have absolutely freakish side pressure, except I consider Zoloev to be a better technical arm wrestler. And this is the guy that we watched pin Jerry Cataray, right? At what was it? He was less than 200 when he did it. I don't know what his weight was.
Yeah.
But this is an exceptional arm wrestler who comes from a fabric and DNA in arm sport that not many come from. Maybe if Johnny Walker had some kids, you might have a shot. But besides that, the Zoloev clan and that thing in Vladikavkaz, you got to think Kazbek Zoloev right now is a strength trainer for the Russian powerlifting team, judo team, all sorts of things. These guys, their DNA and their intelligence in strength sports is severe.
Yes.
I'm out.
Yeah, I consider Hazimir pound for pound the strongest arm wrestler, period. Just my opinion. I'm just talking about strength. And with him and Todd Hutchings, I'm even gonna say that I think Haji is stronger than Todd right now. But if that match stops, I'll even bet a 55 or 54-year-old Todd Hutchings still has better endurance than Haji. So he's only got to stop him once, and then he's going to win the rest of them, unless we see one of them top roll, which we might see. Which I'm curious to see if one of them decides to top roll.
It would be Zoloev.
It
would be Zoloev, and like the Devon story. That stuff has to happen early with a guy like Todd.
Right.
So I think it's going to come down to his ability to come around on a little bit of Todd's pinky finger and just get that crack to get his lat nice and big and come with that big outside hit from a stagnant position over his pad. Not in the he's not. I don't think he's going to be in the center with Todd.
I have a question for you, though. These guys had a super match back in 2012, PAL Las Vegas, and Todd won.
I was there.
Todd won 6-0.
Yeah,
and that was just Todd's returning to the sport after like a 4 or 5 year break. So, And Todd, to me, I look at him now, he looks way stronger than he was in 2012.
Yeah.
I agree.
And Zoloev probably is heavier as well. But I don't know. I think back to that match, and I'm like, if Todd was able to beat him back then, I feel, is there a weight cap on this upcoming match?
214, 213.
Oh, okay, so he has to come down a bit. Okay.
But I talked to Todd the other day. His everyday walking around weight was like 220.
Okay.
So for him to lose 5-6 pounds was no big deal.
Okay.
And now, thinking that match in 2012, Zoloev was, I'm not trying to like Jimmy the odds or something, but Zoloev was, I believe, super active then. This match coming up, I think he's got more than ample time.
Right.
And with the way that these guys train, he's prepared. We're going to see the best, heaviest Zoloev that we've ever seen.
I think it's such an exciting match. I mean,
yeah, I think it's the match of the time. I mean, I want to see the Wild Horse go
to bring it back to bring it back to the 2000s and still talk about Zoloev. So at the Worlds that was in Canada in 2008,
right?
This is the first time I'm seeing Zoloev, I think, live. And everyone's telling me, I was talking to Vazgen, every time Zoloev, I said, Vazgen, why don't you pull the heavier class? And why doesn't Roman Sindeliari pull the heavier class? They're all running away from Zoloev. And as he went up in weight, they went up in weight. So, and then I saw at a practice table after the tournament, Zoloev and Babayev going at it. And that's when I came to the conclusion that pound for pound, Zoloev was the strongest because neither one of them could finish the other in the hook.
Right.
But Zoloev was quite a bit smaller. And when Zoloev hit Babayev, it came real close to being pinned, but it didn't pin. But when Babayev hit Zoloev, Zoloev only moved just a little bit to the losing position. Or Babayev only, Zoloev only went a little bit losing position. So I'm like, all right, Zoloev is the one who's actually stronger there. It's also the same time when I realized neither one of them know how to arm wrestle. They just kept going sideways,
Maybe they had an understanding. They just wanted to test their biceps.
And that you're right. You could be 100% right there. Maybe that's what it was.
Because I'm here to tell you, Zoloev can roll out.
Yeah. And so I'm curious.
He's the real deal, but he does have a short lever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be curious. It's just all the more exciting for me between him and Todd is one of these guys is going to roll out.
Yeah, that's the main event to me on this card.
Oh, I agree. For me, it is anyway.
Whoa, I'm back. Come
on.
The
Wizard's tits.
I'm back. Please be back. Oh, you bastard.
The fat lad.
Yes, the mother fluffer.
Well, I'm back again. What happened, mate? I'm in and out like a friggin'. I'll tell you what, I whiff it in and out this much with my missus.
Hey, I'll tell you, Neil, we've got almost 200 people in this chat, and we don't even have 50 likes on it. So if you folks can hop over there and smash the like button, be much appreciated.
200 people are seeing me look this much of a prick. Absolutely magnificent. What were we talking about there?
We've just been talking about some of the dominant pullers from that area. So we talked a bit about Rustam. Now we've been talking about Zoloev.
Big match coming up this weekend. Big match.
Yeah, and that was saying the most exciting match. I was talking about.
Here we go. Toddzilla coming on the show either tomorrow or Friday live. Matt Mask live either tomorrow or Friday just before they go off. So keep your eyes out for that, guys. If you're in the chat, keep your eyes out. We got Toddzilla and we got Mask coming on very soon. Who have you got, guys? Incidentally,
I have Todd.
I'm gonna go with Todd because I do think it's gonna turn into an endurance game. I really do, and so I'm gonna go with Todd.
If Zoloev is on his game, if Zoloev wins the first match, I put it on Zoloev.
97 kilos cap, yeah.
Yeah. A healthy Zoloev with this much preparation I don't see more moves coming from Todd. I mean, listen, I love both guys, but if Zoloev is a more complete arm wrestler, Todd is a pinning machine.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that's just it. I mean, guys look like they're in the best position in the world against Toddzilla, and the next thing you know, that they're on the pad. So, but
Well, and
Zoloev,
that's my point. So even if Zoloev pins him the first time, unless he pins him in very dominant fashion, then will he be able to do it a second time and a third time? I just don't think so. But
he's not a mistake maker. That's what I know. He's not a mistake maker.
Right. I've been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong again.
I'm sure he's going for the speed because obviously speed's been identified as a weapon by the Eastern Europeans in past encounters. So I'm pretty sure all of that's going to be is dialed in opportunity, I think.
But you got to remember, speed is nothing without a little control in your pocket.
Right.
Rustam won 6-0 against Todd a couple of years ago. Was there a weight cap on that? And does anyone know what it was?
Was that Igor's Vegas thing? No, he beat. Where did he beat Jerry Cadaret? That was an overall.
That was in the Nemiroff World Cup, and then they pulled in Vendetta, and he lost to Jerry 6-0. But it has to be said that when not diminishing the effort that was made by Zoloev in beating Jerry, but that was stacked class, and Jerry had some terrible matches prior to them meeting. So
but I don't know if there was a weight cap when Todd pulled Babayev. I don't.
I know Todd wasn't weighing 240 pounds or anything like that. I was just wondering if he had.
No.
Has Todd ever been that big?
Oh, I think when he pulled Devin, he was.
Yeah. I remember.
When he beat Devin? Yeah, I remember that.
No, when he pulled Devin.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a pin.
Yeah, when you had unruly Bob in the crowd shouting anything that he could.
That was an embarrassing moment for me. I apologize.
Yeah, some of the stuff you weren't even joined up. You were just coming up with things to piss him off. It's like, your mama's a hoe. Or anything you could come up with firing in at him. And I thought, there you go, Bob, constructive criticism.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, dude.
Hey, Bob, by the way, I got to give you hats off. That was beautiful last night, the way you dropped the mic. That was beautiful.
Yeah, well, sometimes Gary can be a 12-year-old.
Sometimes I'm 2, so I get it.
Another puller who was gaining, steam in the second part of the 2000s, Arsen Liliev. Every year he'd go up a weight class, right-handed, and he'd win again and again and again. Although there's a funny story, some of you have probably heard this. Around the middle part of I don't know if it was 2006 or 2007, he tried to send someone else to the weigh-in. And he got caught for doing it.
Made the national news.
I remember that. Yeah.
He sent his evil twin, huh?
I believe it was Italy. I think it was Italy, like 07 or something like that. 08.
He tried the old twins girlfriend switch.
Absolute quality.
Yeah. It's crazy. But
Bob, is that you? Yeah, it's me. It's me.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, the next time I got to make the 165s, Cobra, can you weigh in for me?
I got you, baby. We're both New Englanders by hatching, so yeah, we'll pull it off. I'm from Rhode Island. You're from Boise. So let's do this.
Despite his issues in weigh-ins, whether you loved Arsen Liliev or hated him, that was a strong man.
Top roller, right? Liliev was top roller, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Blister in the small hand.
Is he the guy?
Incredible wrist.
Incredible. Who's the guy with the great top roll that John put on that show? The guy took his hand. It's just a beautiful match. John beat him with the press.
No, that was
Iron on Chescu.
Oh, Iron on Chescu. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
And also the guy from the Pulling John movie.
Harris? Yavakin?
Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlotte, that's
Yeah.
the match.
Oh, you mean in Taras? Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
That's the match. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
you
one of my
see-
favorite. Go
Cobra,
ahead.
did you ever see the Russian kid who top rolled and beat Richard Lupke's like 6-0?
No.
That's
Okay, that's the guy we're talking about.
Mm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arson was.
No, But no, it's no.
remarkable.
I know Lilia. Yeah.
I
Nobody
mean, he
beats
got wins
Richard
against
6-0, though.
Dennis Saplenkov. He
Yeah.
got wins against anybody that put their arm in front of him. It was an
This
absolute.
was not a prime Richard.
No.
Correct. It wasn't
Okay.
a prime. Right.
Okay.
No.
Dennis is
Yeah,
another
but
guy.
that John Taras match is really
Oh.
that speaks volumes. That you watch that match, you'll understand John's whole career
Yeah.
right there in that match, because it's about saying no, and you just see the change in the kid's face. He goes from Maximus and Gladiator to Minnie Mouse. You know, just nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah. John was extraordinary, mentally, physically.
Dennis's explosion onto the scene, at least from my point of view, he may have been, I know he had been arm wrestling a bit in Russia before, but in 2008, when he was sort of introduced to us by the PAL, I mean, that was just the look of him. I mean, we had never seen a guy like that before. I mean, it looked like if you were to build a robot to arm wrestle, it would look like Denis Saplenkov. And he had, left hand success right out of the gates. Right hand, his really big first tournament, which was Zoloev 2008. And that's why it comes down to these discussions as who was the best at that time. You have John losing to Devin in September 2008, 6-0. And then John going to Zoloev in November and winning the overall over Denis Saplenkov convincingly. So that's why I really think in that period, Devin was probably the very, very best for that time frame. But it didn't take long for Dennis to catch up. Within 2 years, he was, beating everyone both arms. So
I would have loved to see the match between Denis Saplenkov and Devin on the right arm.
Oh, absolutely.
You can never encapsulate a guy in a set moment, in a set period of time. But the 2007, 2008 version of Devin was extraordinary. And I would have loved to see that. If that could have happened at any time, it would have been incredible.
Yeah.
Or
even the 2021 version of Devin against the peak version of Dennis, if that was possible. Once again, probably not going to happen, but yeah.
Yeah, pray that Levan Saganashvili and Devin can get together, I would have liked to see prime Denis Saplenkov, a frigging member of the Troll Army, Denis Saplenkov against Levan. That would have been great.
Absolutely.
Would have been amazing. Right. Both arms, because obviously people forget that Dennis was primarily a left-hander, left-hand favored, left-hand bias, and Saganashvili also from that same school of thought. He loves the left arm also, and claims that he may be stronger on the left arm. So that would have been a great series of matchups. It's a shame that often you don't see that cross. If you could pick what this show's about, and one of the things hopefully we can get into down the tracks, we'll be doing sort of individual arm wrestler exposés on some of the legends of the sport over time.
Right.
One of them literally, ironically, has just messaged me right there. I've just got a note from Richard Lupkas, ladies and gentlemen. He's just messaged me here, which is nice to see, because Richard's not been in the best of health for some time now. So, he's just saying, Neil, how you doing, buddy? Just checking in and letting you know soon. What a great dude. For those of you who don't know Richard Lupkas, while we're talking about guys who've been monsters over a period of time.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
So we lost him, and I believe what he was going to say is Richard has had some health issues, and we wish him the best to, fully recover. He had an issue with COVID, and I believe he's still having an issue with COVID. But we wish him the best to come back to perfect health.
Yeah, Richard, it's so impressive. So he was, obviously super, super dominant 89, 90. But then but then he took a 17-year break from the sport.
Right.
And then he comes back, and within a year, he's winning the Arnolds. Like, he won the Arnolds in 2008 in a class that included Tim Brezin, John Brzenk, Ryan Espy, Marcio, I believe. I mean, that's a stacked class, and he beat them all. So, at that point, he's 51, 52 years of age. So he's
right
after a 17-year break. I mean, that's impressive.
My little brother, Richard Lupkeys, was one of the most dominant beings to ever grace an arm wrestling table. We traveled to shows together where on the same day, he was jolly whopping Gary Goodrich, John Brzenk, all the top guys up there in Canada and the US in the same day. And practice pulls at the table after were not practice. Like, the top guys in the world would come up, lock up with him, and say, "I'm good." So that's the kind of dominance that we're not going to see a guy dominate. And yes, the game has changed, just like MMA.
Right.
You know, it's progressed. But let me tell you something, as far as sheer power and putting fear into your opponent, that I think that Richard Lupkeys, I don't think there's been anyone at the table with that kind of dominance. When you got the top guys in the world just gripping up with you at the practice table and saying, "Okay, all right, I'm good."
Yeah, I agree. Based on just sheer power, Richard Lupkeys is the strongest arm wrestler still today to ever live. And my proof of that is when he pulled Simplinkov at the Arnolds, when they were both relatively fresh, and when it went go, Richard drug Simplinkov nearly to a pin right off the bat. He had the stronger arm, and Simplinkov could not get him past center until Simplinkov switches to a top roll, starts to attack his hand, gets him and beats him, which just showed me in that moment, Richard Lupkeys was stronger, but Dennis was a better arm wrestler.
Right.
And that's why he won. But sheer strength, Richard Lupkeys is the strongest arm wrestler that's ever lived.
Richard was never the technical guru. He didn't have to be because of his power. I mean, we'd be doing media interviews side by side, and they'd be asking him questions about technique, and he'd snatch me from my interview and pull me into the shot and say, if you want to talk about that crap, talk to this little fella. You know?
Yeah.
And the other reporter would be grabbing it and say, "What's this guy? Don't bother that guy. Don't bother Rich Lupkeys. Let him be."
Exactly.
Great guy. Man, surely. There's two to this team.
Yeah.
And in those years, what was nice, although Devin had beat John in 2008, it's really cool that John was really the one who was traveling to Eastern Europe for Zoloev every year, and he won the overall absolute right hand division in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 4 years in a row against guys like Pushkar and Uzmanov and all those guys and Denis Simplinkov. And I feel like when John beat Dennis, I think it was in Las Vegas, the PAL 2009, where he beat him. It could have been 6-0, but I think he gave him the last match 5-1. He was that was such an awesome display of his arm wrestling ability to dismantle Dennis, who was still, I think, learning how to really arm wrestle at that point. But hand control, it was unbelievable. I mean, I felt it was such a fun match to watch.
I was there for that match, and John just beat him 5-6 different times, 5-6 different ways.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
John Brzenk will do that to you. John Brzenk's ruined a lot of days for people.
Yeah, exactly. So,
we did get a chance to see Devin do a few super matches, but they were North America. But when he pulled David Randall, so he had only pulled David Randall once before at the Arnolds in 2001, and Dave Randall crushed Devin.
Was that the day that David Randall asked Travis, "Who's your daddy?" Was that day, Travis?
I don't know if that's the
at the Arnold.
I'm not sure if it was that one, but
I think it was.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember having
I'm
breakfast.
back.
We were just about to talk, Neil, about the super match the 2 out of 3 right-hand super match that Devin had with David Randall in 2009. Once again at one of these Arm Wrestling Challenge. So they had faced only once before in 2001 at the Arnold. David Randall had crushed them. Now, Devin was knocking people one at a time in the later part of the decade. And next on his list was David Randall. And I remember having breakfast with them at the morning of the event. And Devin's already playing head games. He's like, I'm sorry, Dave, but I'm going to have to beat you today. And the way he talks and gets into the person's mind. And even back then, Devin has been thinking and working on this for many, many years. And I really think he's successful at talking people out of, getting people out of their zone. I think that's part of what we saw with Michael Todd just a week or two ago, is that, he somehow affected Michael.
Mentally dominates people, absolutely decimates their confidence prior to the event, and he's certainly done a good job. People can be broken down mentally in a lot of ways, like Cobra said. John Brzenk's ruined a lot of days just because of his aura, his quiet confidence, that air of invincibility that he carried to the table at any time. Cobra himself had that when he was a young man. Used to walk into events and obviously people will be very, very concerned about him before they even got to the table. And there's been a number of guys that commanded that. Lupkus, another one. Gary Goodridge, another one. And it's interesting to see how it breaks people down, just destroys their confidence. We got a super chat just come in from Levi. Thanks, mate, for your super chat. I'm going to nail this quick before I drop off. Lupkus, most genetically gifted guy in arm wrestling, except Zoik, in my opinion. Lupkus has once in a generation strength, which is rare to see. Without a doubt, mate. Real animal. Absolutely unique.
I always wondered if they put a discus in that man's hand, what would have happened?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
So
one of the things that he said when he came on my show, just for that weird farm boy strength, he spoke about picking up oil drums, big oil drums, which are going to weigh what? They're a 200-liter drum, I think. So that's going to be somewhere around. I'm pretty sure I've dropped off and nobody can hear a goddamn thing I'm saying, but I'm in full flow.
We hear you.
I'm going to go.
We hear you.
200 liters, 440 pounds.
So he says that he could pick up the oil drum just by the rim of the oil drum and put it on the back of his truck when he was weighing around 187 to 190 pounds, which is absolutely incredible. There's nothing to get hold of, and just being able to do that is amazing and shows exactly what Levi was talking about, that he's got weirdo strength. God bless you, Richard Lupkus. Animal.
One guy who really impressed Richard, who was coming up in the first part of the 2000s, in the second half of that decade, is Andrei Pushkar. Andrei Pushkar was one of the WAF every year, winning both arms every year in the late 2000s into the next decade. And by the time he had a super match with Richard, Richard it's not the same Richard as from 1990, but he was very, very, very impressed by Andrei, that I recall. He's like, Richard was like, I still want to be involved in Palace super matches, but not against Andrei.
Yeah. Crazy. Oh, man.
Oh, I think I'm back, and a super chat's come through. Levi, another super chat. He's just put, Cobra is still infamous here in Scandinavia for coming here in the 90s and kicking Magnus Samuelsson's ass on the arm wrestling table. Yeah, he kicked a lot of asses around that time. Another one's come in from Devil Raper, which is an amazing name that should be probably carved into a rock somewhere. Neil, one of my top 3 matches of all time was Rod Linette versus Joseph Lovey of France. That match brought me into arm wrestling. So much technical aspects. That was a ridiculous war, and both men went out on the shield. Absolute classic, mate. I couldn't agree more. Amazing matchup.
Was Rod a technical puller?
Experience of as well.
Was Rod a technical puller, Neil?
And I hate my life, ladies and gentlemen. Probably the other guys are talking. And
Neil, pick up.
Sure, but I may punch myself in the dick.
I don't know.
This guy is gonna shoot himself. Hide the weapon. Neil, listen, son. Before you put it in your mouth, cock it. Okay? Don't leave a mess. Put your head in the
Oh,
toilet.
God, this pisses me
Yeah.
off. What the
Don't leave a mess
fuck?
for your people. Do
What's
it in a
funny
public
is
bathroom.
I think Neil thinks he's not live right now, but well, maybe he isn't now. Maybe he's froze. Yeah, he froze.
Yeah, he's done. The wizard.
Yeah.
That
What
shirt.
what time is
That
it there,
shirt say
Eric?
bad.
Unbelievable.
Don't
It's,
take that
quarter-
shirt off. You've got a
quarter
bad
past.
feed.
Quarter of?
Quarter past.
How much time do we have left?
Neil, speak.
I have less than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Question for you guys. With the rise in popularity of super matches over the past 15, 20 years, as a spectator, do you prefer to watch a double elimination tournament and see who can climb to the top and win that, or do you prefer watching super matches?
I don't care what it is myself personally. I just like pulling. For me competing, I haven't been around really for much of this super match craze, but
Right.
I enjoyed tournament pulling because you could get so many different hands to smash, you know?
Right.
And I enjoyed, I really enjoyed that. I think when I was good, my super matches would have been boring.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but wait, no. The lead up would have been very exciting. The entry would have been, I think it would have been an exciting show. The matches themselves would have been boring.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
when I was good, it was over with. So,
right.
but
So-
at least in a tournament, you had a little bit of fresh, a new
Yeah.
guy. And
So to
You're
me,
confident.
to answer your question, from a spectator standpoint, generally I want to watch super matches, but the caveat to that is I only want to watch super matches that I know the people and I know they're good and this is an exciting match. So like if you're telling me if it's 7 challenge matches of guys I don't know and not of any particular greatness,
Right.
versus a tournament that's got monsters in it, well, then I'd rather watch the tournament.
Right.
But
Right.
that doesn't generally happen anymore. The monsters are typically in the super matches. So
Right.
I like super matches. Plus they're cut and dry, watch a match, wait 90 seconds, watch a match, wait 90 seconds, watch a match. I just think it's better it's more user or audience friendly.
Right.
So
I think for a spectator, I agree with you. As a competitor, though, I've always preferred tournaments. I don't know. I'd rather focusing on one opponent for several months and just thinking about that one person. I would much rather. I like the excitement of a tournament going to tournament, not knowing who's going to be there.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pull different ways probably, and you're going to have to adjust strategy. So as a puller, I've always preferred myself competing in tournaments and I've done a lot of super matches, but
yeah.
It never doesn't do it for me the way success in a regular tournament does.
Right. I can tell you, I agree with you wholeheartedly with one caveat, and that is at age 55, I kind of like the super match format just because it's easier on my arm. I only got to worry about one guy. Like all the stuff that you just said that's exciting.
Right.
The more my arm gets torn apart and beat up, the less exciting that gets, and the more exciting the super match gets for me. That's simply because I'm old and falling apart.
Okay.
So, but otherwise, I agree. So. Well, it looks like we've. Oh no, here comes Cobra. I thought we lost Cobra too.
No, FedEx got dropping some stuff off at my room.
Gotcha.
Yeah, super. You know what? As I was listening to you talk, Bob, like I'm thinking of me attempting this comeback. Super match might be the way to go. But
For you, I agree, Cobra. Yeah, for you, I just
the match pick my matches. Yeah, I want the guy with the sloppy hook. Give them to me every time. I'll be undefeated.
Right. Exactly. And when you're because let's face it, Cobra, any super match you're going to be involved in, everyone's going to want to watch it. It doesn't even matter who you're pulling. So you can pick who you want to pull. And then when you really want to step up to the plate and challenge yourself, no problem. Whoever one of these top tier guys is, they're going to accept the match with Cobra Rhodes. I mean,
You think so?
who wouldn't accept a match with you? Everyone would.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Now I'm ripe for the picking, I guess. I mean, I just got my cherry busted Saturday, so
Yeah. You know,
I'm gonna
and for
find
the-
out.
for you, I mean, yeah, for the guys who beat you, it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity for them, and everyone knows you're not the Cobra Road of old. And even if you get to a point where you feel like, hey, I'm feeling froggy now, I'm ready to leap, well, then fine. You can pick out some monster, pick out a Tony Katowski, and you know, if you called up Tony and said, hey, let's have a super match, Tony's going to say yes.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah,
So-
that's a much stronger Tony these days from when I was good.
Oh, yeah.
Neil, can we hear you? Neil, speak. Habla.
Well, all honesty, guys, to me on this, we might want to just end this because we're going to stop in about 5 minutes anyway.
I'm back.
Hey, you're back. Neil, you're back just in time for my shameless plug.
Do it.
Folks, I have a YouTube page. It's named this, Cobra Rhodes. Uncle John and I did an interview with one of my old friends that I've known since UFC 8. His name is Randy Couture. And I put that interview, part 1, on my page over 3 months ago, and there's less than 500 views. And in that interview, I give you all some information about a promotion that Randy Couture and I are going to do together. But no one has seen it. That's all. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Wow.
Oh, Neil's frozen again?
Yeah. Eric,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So go to
You got
Cobra
me
Rhodes
over
page
here in
and you
minutes.
watch
We
that
should
interview.
call it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Poor Neil.
Poor Neil.
Came back then for a minute. What the frig? Come on.
Also, we got 177 in the chat and only 40 likes. We need to smash that like button and build this channel of Neil's, which I need to say
Guys.
congratulations, Neil. You just passed 10,000 subscribers.
Nice, lovely darts. 10,000 subs. That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much for everybody who supported the channel. Even though tonight it's been what we like to call wank.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am so super chat. Paul RF, mate, I've come back just to pick up your super chat. Do the guys in the East rely too much on brute strength over technical? Say 70-30, whereas in the East it's more 50-50. New to spectating, so apologies. Yeah, I think he meant in the West it's more 50-50 because he'd put East first time around. But yeah, difficult one. I think there's guys in each camp that are technical and guys in each camp that are strong. Nobody.
Oh, Neil.
Lord.
Old school.
All right. Boys, I'm going to have to say goodbye because I know
All right, Bob.
Eric,
Good to see you, bro.
soon, and Neil is in and out, and I love him, but we'll do this again in the future.
Bob,
You guys have a great.
I'm
You
just
guys-
caught
you guys in the
you
chat.
saying you're leaving, Bob.
I gotta go too. I gotta
Listen.
go you, Neil.
I think it's best to call it there. I'm really sorry to everybody in the chat that my Wi-Fi is a dick.
Yeah.
I want to say an enormous thanks to Eric Roussin, to Bob Brown, to Cobra Rhodes, and to everybody for coming on and joining us tonight. So sorry we had the technicals. It's been a testing time. It's been emotional. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Arm Wrestling Old School. Until that time, if this is your first time at Supernatural Strength, please like, share, subscribe. Please get yourself over to Andrew Cobra Rhodes' channel, like, share, subscribe, and get yourself over to the armwrestlingarchive.com. Check it out. Eric Roussin has done an amazing job there, and it needs your attention. If you're into arm wrestling, go and look back at it. Ladies and gents, I'm now going to fluff up and get the fluff off because I need to go and kicked myself in the dick.
Biggity bong.
Biggity bong, mother fluffers.